always a pleasure to talk to you, but it's definitely been a minute. I don't think I've spoken to you since your fight with Ok Rae Yoon. So just catching up on everything. How's life for you? How's the family? How's training?
Um, you know, I can't complain. Life for me is great right now. I'm happy at home with my wife and my daughter, spending a lot of great family time. So, um, yeah, other than that, I've been in the gym every day. I've been training, staying sharp, and really just waiting to hear when the rematch is going to take place. Other than that, I just recently reopened the doors to the gym that my wife and I own, United MMA. We just started up class again this month. So, just been exciting. Things are getting a bit busy again. And yeah, other than that, everything's great.
Great, man. Glad to hear it. Congratulations on reopening the gym. That's awesome to hear. I want to talk about the Ok Rae Yoon rematch. Before we get to that, though, I want to look back a little bit on the first fight. Obviously, a very controversial outcome. The word you used at the time, I think, was bullshit. I might have to bleep that. I'm not sure. um, how do you feel about it now? Is it still bullshit? Have you kind of digested it a little bit? I mean, where do you stand on that verdict?
Well, now I think over 4 months later, there's no more emotions in it. I watched the fight back many times, and every time I see that I won the fight, every single
Mhm.
one of the one championship scorecard, I still see that. But I've accepted that what's happened has already happened, and I'm just continuing to enjoy my life, continuing to train and stay ready so that when the time comes and we fight again, I'm gonna make it very absolute in how the fight goes.
Of course, you still consider yourself the top lightweight in one championship and the whole world, I assume. But has life changed for you at all since you lost the title?
No, for me, my life hasn't changed at all, not
Right.
one bit. I'm still just as happy with my family. I still feel that I won the fight. I still feel that I'm the best lightweight in the world. So, other than taking the title away, for me, nothing's changed.
hmm One championship reviewed that verdict originally. They had their internal review process and ultimately decided that they would let it stand. Was that frustrating at all for you? Kind of having that glimmer of hope that it might be overturned, and then learning that actually it's going to stick.
Well, it's nice that they went ahead and they brought it to a review in the first place, which means that of course, the point was valid, but I knew that I knew it wasn't going to be overturned. In sports, it's like it's almost never going to happen. In
hmm
the case that the way it went down when they hand the belt over to the other guy already, they make the decision. It's not going to be overturned. Um, but what I just wanted to make a point that if you guys are going to be uh, going to an official review, it's admitting the fact that yeah, maybe we did screw up on the judging. Maybe we didn't actually look at the criteria the right way that night. So it was just more to kind of prove that even within the company themselves, there's a lot of people that felt I won the fight, and that's why I did go to a review.
Right.
Yeah,
It's sort
that's
of
all it was.
acknowledging there's a controversy, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, you want the rematch. It sounds like people are working on it behind the scenes. What's the status on this rematch with Ok Rae Yoon at the moment?
So verbally, the rematch is going to take place. We just don't have a time. We don't have a location.
What do you do in that rematch when it finally happens to ensure that, you maybe get the finish or at the very least, wow the judges a little bit more, sway the judges a little bit more? What can you change the second time around?
Well, I feel that Ok Rae Yoon, his biggest strength is the fact that he carries such a defensive posture. He just stays right at the end of your punches, and he really likes to play that defensive game, running around the whole time. And then at the very end of the fight, he likes to turn it on, get the judges' scorecards, and then try to win the fight that way. That's been
hmm
his strategy in all of his fights and one championship so far. So, rather than going in there chasing him, giving him what he wants. In the rematch, it's gonna. I think everyone's gonna see it's gonna be a very different fight. Um, I'm not gonna chase him. I'm gonna just stand there, give him exactly what he wants, and I'm gonna beat him at his own game. I'm gonna beat him everywhere. Um,
Mhm. Yeah, that was a good breakdown of his style. He does sort of have a style that I think will lead to a lot of close decisions because he does kind of steal rounds, and he had a close fight with Eddie Alvarez, obviously, and then you. I mean, do you think there's anything he can do or anything he might do in this rematch as he looks for a more decisive outcome?
you know, of course, Ok Rae Yoon, he's a fighter. He's gonna say that he wants to finish me this time. He's gonna say that he wants to knock me out. But I really feel that he's gonna try to play the exact same game, to try to lead to the same outcome, which is a 5 round close decision in his favor. I think that's his best shot.
Obviously, some frustration attached to the verdict itself, the judging, but is there any kind of bad blood or rivalry with you and Okrayun, or is it still strictly professional between you two?
No, Ok Rae Yoon, he's a tough guy. Um, and he's a good fighter. So nothing against him. He fought the best fight he could have that night, and it's really not in his control that the judges made the decision that they did. So no,
Mhm.
no bad blood.
Classy as ever. Is it possible you think that this could be the beginning of a three fight rivalry between you guys?
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible, but I think that um, a big part in that is decided on how the fight is won. So I think if it's another close decision, then it could go to a third. But if it's a very dominant finish, then possibly not.
If you were to get a dominant finish, say a knockout or something, have you given any thought to who might be next after Okrayun in terms of the current one championship lightweight contenders?
I have, but right now, I don't want to get ahead of myself. I don't want to talk ahead of the next step, which is just getting the rematch and getting my title back.
Right. Is it difficult to train for a rematch? Like you said, you're in the gym every day training for a rematch that's not official yet, just kind of training endlessly without a definitive goal. Is that tough for you?
No, it's not tough for me. Yeah, as a martial artist, as a lifelong martial artist, training is just something that I do. It's a part of my daily routine. I'm a professional fighter, so whether I have a job coming up or not, I'm gonna be staying in the gym, trying to work on my craft, and continuing to try to evolve and get better.
And you're healthy now. I mean, if one championship came with the offer in a couple of months, you'd be ready. It's just a question of timing for both of you at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Shifting gears a little bit, I wanted to ask you about your little sister Victoria. She looked like an absolute killer in one championship. Seems to run in the family. We've spoken quite a bit about her before in the past, but I mean, what are your thoughts on the progress she's made over the course of these three fights?
Victoria, she's done such a great job in her short career so far. I'm really proud of how hard she's working every day. She's really taking, um, just putting her head down and just putting in the work. She's in the gym like 6 hours a day. She's training more hours than any of us. Between
Mhm.
me and my sister, she's really just always in the gym, always working, and I think it's really showing all of her hard work because in her three fights, she wasn't given easy opponents. Typically, when you see a new fighter coming up or being signed to one, you see them given at least three feeders. In Victoria's
Mhm.
first three fights, she's faced all tough opponents with way more fights than her. Her last girl was undefeated, I believe five
Mhm.
and 0, and so every single one of her fights has been against tough, tough opponents, and she's handled them really well. So I couldn't be more proud of her so far.
Yeah, she's gotten off to an amazing start, and she's kept a really busy schedule too. She rattled off those three fights in a fairly short period. What do you expect the year will look like for her as her big brother and a training partner? What do you want her to accomplish in 2022?
Um, you know, for Victoria, right now she's so hungry. She's so driven. I think she's going to manage to get a few fights in this year. At 3 to 4 fights, I see at least. And for her, she's just the sky's the limit for her. Right now, Angela's got the belt at atom weight, so they would never compete for the same belt.
Of course.
But
Mhm.
Victoria's a bigger girl. She's slightly bigger framed than Angela, so the strawweight division is definitely there for her too. We might see her. I think her next fight might be at strawweight. I believe so. I'm not sure what's going to happen with Victoria, but I know that whatever path she takes, whoever one championship gives her next, she's just gonna steamroll right through it all the way to the top.
That would be very cool to see her in that division. I mean, I feel like there's probably a shorter path to the title in that division. Obviously, she's got some growing to do before that happens, but that sounds like a very exciting idea. Speaking of your siblings, your sisters, as you mentioned, your sister Angela is the champion at atomweight. She has a huge fight coming up in a couple of weeks against Stamp Fairtex. It'll be her first fight back since she gave birth to her first child. I mean, how does she look to you as she gears up for this comeback?
Um, Angela, since she started training, she's really changed her approach to fighting entirely. From what I can see, she's more driven, more determined than I've seen in a very long time, and she's putting in so much work right now. Physically, she's in the best shape of her life, and she's getting such good training with my sister, who's also preparing for a fight. And we just got so many good bodies in the room for her to train with. So I'm really happy to see her progress so far, and I know that when the time comes, when the cage doors shut, she's going to be more than ready for the opponent in front of her. And skill wise, I think that she's still on another level than any of any of her other competitors in her division. So
Hmm.
it's definitely going to be a tough fight, but I do believe that my sister is still going to be the better fighter that night.
Do you have a prediction for that one? Any particular way you see her winning?
Um, yeah, I see her submitting Stamp. I think it's going to be. I think it's either going to end in the first round or the fourth round. She's going to
Hmm.
submit her. I see
Hmm.
one of those two.
Very cool. As we've said, this will be her first fight as a mom. We've heard a lot of fighters talk over the years about how your motivation changes when you become a parent, and of course, this is something you're experiencing now too. Is that something you're finding that you have kind of renewed motivation to really conquer this sport as a parent?
Yeah, definitely. When for me, and actually, in terms of my sister as well, when we started off this career, we were kind of doing it for ourselves, for our own personal achievements. But now, as parents, you're no longer just fighting for yourself. When you go in there, you're fighting for your family. You're fighting. You attach a lot more to it because there's a lot more meaning behind what you do now. So definitely I see that in everything Angela's doing, and I think it's really going to help her going into this fight.
Very cool, man. Before I let you go, I just wanted to get your take on a couple of other big one championship fights on the horizon, starting with this Demetrius Johnson and Rodtang fight that's landing on the same card as Angela's fight with Stamp, excuse me. Any thoughts on that fight? That's a crazy one. I mean, how do you see that one going?
um I see that as a really good fight for DJ.
Hmm.
Taking nothing away from Rodtang. I think it would have been better for him if it was strictly a Muay Thai match, because DJ, he's had uh, how many championship level fights.
Hmm.
There's no way that anyone is going to come in there and knock him out in 3 minutes. And then as soon as it switches over to the MMA rule set, um, it's a lot harder for Rodtang to adjust to DJ's skill level in wrestling and in jiu-jitsu, and it's probably going to end as soon as it switches over.
Hmm. If one championship came to you with an offer like that to fight somebody, half Muay Thai, half MMA, is that something you would be interested in?
Absolutely. I take that fight in a heartbeat. There's a reason why there's two different sports in terms of striking and MMA. I think you take any of the top kickboxers or Muay Thai fighters all the way up 3, 4 divisions up, and you put them against any top level MMA fighter, any MMA champion. MMA fighter is going to win for sure.
Hmm. It's got to be nice to be in an organization where that kind of thing is possible, right? You have the option of competing in Muay Thai or these special rules attractions. That's got to be kind of cool, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool, man. Another fight I wanted to ask you about before I let you go: the main event of Bad Blood this weekend. John Lineker and Bibiano Fernandez. Any particular way you see that one going?
That's going to be a good fight. You know, Bibiano's done a great job defending his belt. And he's been the champion for a long time. So I think he's going to come in prepared. He definitely has a good chance of taking the fight down and submitting him. But John Lineker, he's got some power, and he's got a lot of momentum behind him. So I think either a knockout for John Lineker or a submission for Bibiano.
Very well said. Back to you, man. What does a perfect 2022 look like for you? What do you want to accomplish before this year is over?
Well, this year my main goal is getting the rematch set, getting my belt back, and then from there I'm going to be looking to defend it as soon as possible, and it's probably going to be the year for me.